the Solitary Practice Podcast. A few weeks ago, I was doing dishes, and as I was washing the dishes by hand, I was kind of glancing over to the side. I have a dishwasher in the kitchen. I don't really use it a whole lot. And as I tend to do, I think while my hands are busy, so washing away in the old dishpan, and started to think about how doing the dishes by hand is a lot like how I practice magic. And that may seem like a stretch, but does kind of correlate for me. It would be very easy when I was learning, and even now when I practice, to ask somebody else, a god, an entity, I don't know, pick something, to take a problem and fix it for me. And then be like, hey, can you do X? I don't really ever do that. When I was learning, that wasn't allowed. Like that was not a permitted behavior. It was a bad habit, and the whole point was to keep me from developing bad habits. So none of that was allowed. I guess it just never really even occurred to me to try it either. Again, probably a little bit different magical start than most people. So I never got to request somebody to help me with a problem. It was, here is the problem, or you have a problem and you need to get it fixed, and you need to figure out how to do it. So didn't get to lean on much. I had to learn how to make it work. I think most people kind of start the other way. They will have a problem and they have some need to get it taken care of, and they'll implore, usually it's deities. I see a lot of people asking deities for help. So and so, can you help me with such and such? And for me, that's a lot like using the dishwasher. So you can do that. There's nothing, I guess, technically wrong with it. It's just not a way I would ever use it. If you take your problem and you give it to, we're going to say a god here, just for the sake of example. So if you take your problem and you bring it to a god and you're like, hey, I have this problem and I need it to be fixed. Can you assist with it? Can you take care of it? Whatever level of intervention you're looking for. And say they do. For whatever reason, they decide they're going to give you a hand. They're going to take and do whatever it is they need to do, and it may come out exactly like what you wanted. You may get some variation of what you wanted. The bottom line is, it could get done. It might not get done too. They could tell you no, and then you're completely out of luck. If they say, yeah, sure, I'll help you out, you're hoping that the results will be the results that you want. And you're putting a lot of faith and trust in something that may or may not be deserving of that faith or trust. That may or may not be a good idea. So maybe everything works out okay. Maybe it's not quite what you were looking for. But the next time it crops up, then what? What is the plan there? There's no long-term planning. I notice a lot. Magical practitioners are very much in the now, as opposed to the long haul. So you might get your money problem. So let's just say it was a money problem. You might get your money problem fixed for now, but that's a short-term solution to a long-term problem. In, I don't know, a day, a week, a year, you could have the same problem again. What's the plan there? It boggles my mind, because you didn't fix it the first time. You had somebody else give you a hand. So do you go back and ask them again? And how many times do we think that they're actually going to intervene on your behalf before you kind of owe them something, or they get really annoyed and are like, that's it, we're done. So much like when you take dirty dishes and you put them in the dishwasher, you are depending on that dishwasher to clean those dishes. And then when you open the door, voila, clean dishes. Now that works, and anybody who has a dishwasher knows sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work. Sometimes you have spotty glasses, and sometimes you have, pans that did not get fully cleaned. Other times, everything is perfectly clean. But the bottom line is, you have no control over the process. So when you open that door, you're going to get what you get. And you've had no further ability to intervene. You're not in control of it. You aren't, I guess, owning it. Whereas if you're washing the dishes by hand, you start with the same problem. You have dirty dishes, but you can control the water heat, the amount of soap, which type of sponge or dishcloth or scrubby item or scraper that you're using on your pans. You can personally see what's going on at every stage. You have complete control over the process. Is it a little more labor intensive? Oh, yes, it is. But again, you have complete control of the process. When you have washed, rinsed, dried those dishes, and you're at the end of the process, you have exactly what you set out to get. And you know exactly how you got there. You know exactly what it took to get there. tomorrow, if you have dirty dishes on the counter again, you know exactly what to do to get them clean. Like, you know what goes into them, you know what to expect. If one pan, say, was really horrific to clean, you're going to remember what you did to get it clean, because the next time that pan shows up, you'll be more prepared to deal with the problem again. Your rate of success is going to go up. You're going to get much more efficient at it. And again, you're not dependent on anything else. You owe nothing. It is completely all you. I'm on I wash the dishes by hand side, and I see so many practitioners over on the let's use the dishwasher side, and I am not convinced that the convenience is worth the risk, which kind of segues into tools, because much like leaning on a god or a goddess to assist you, I notice a lot of practitioners love their tools, and there's nothing wrong with that. Not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but tools kind of mystify me. I didn't get to have any tools. As far as I'm concerned, tools are like fun things. They're like a decadent treat. It's a special occasion if you get to use tools. I, again, wasn't taught to lean on anything other than myself when I was learning, so I don't really use when I do use tools, or well, pretty much anything, it's a huge boost now. Like you kind of, I'm actually kind of cautious about it because sometimes it can overpower your spell work or whatever you're trying to achieve. Sometimes I don't need all the additives and the extra boosts. So if I do use them, that can cause problems too. So, balance is important, and I kind of try to think about that before I get into it. So sometimes tools can be an unnecessary complication. If I'm perfectly capable of doing whatever it is I'm doing, I'm probably not going to break out the tools. If I'm playing, for lack of a better word, if I'm just having fun, because again, I believe that if you're going to do this on the level that I'm doing it, at the rate I'm doing it, once in a while, you just got to kind of have a little bit of fun with it. Otherwise, it gets to be drudgery. Then I break out the tools. Do I have a lot of tools? Not in the traditional sense. I have some tools. They mostly stay locked away. Break them out on very, very rare occasions, and only on situations what I know is secure and I have plenty of time to mess with them. But for the most part, altars, wands, offerings, candles, bells, I see the appeal, but I don't really feel that they're needed. I think people think they're needed, but they're not actually needed. You don't actually need any of that. Unfortunately, I hate to say it, but at least in the States, magic is kind of a commercially promoted thing. And so, we're selling candles and quartz crystals like hotcakes, and they don't really do the thing they're supposed to do. You have to make them do it. If you can't make them do it, they're just, again, they're just tools. Your tool is only as effective as the person who's wielding it. Just like a computer, can really only be as smart as the person using it sometimes. Tools are much the same way. Long story short, you can give a 90-year-old an iPad, but they're only going to have a limited amount of success if they've never seen an iPad before. It's going to take them a while to turn it on without assistance. So, candles, I don't know, herbs, what does everybody else use around here? Poppets. I'm trying to think of what people might use. Any of the crystals, it's going to take a while before you learn to turn those things on and use them effectively. Some people are going to get it right off the bat. They've got a natural affinity for it. I'm not saying that doesn't happen, but the bulk of the people, they're going to go and get all this stuff and think that that's going to make magic happen. And really, the only thing that can make it happen is you. Everything else is an additive, and it's either going to boost it or influence it some way, and you've just got to kind of know how to use it. That's an experience thing. It's not something that you're going to get from a book. That's practical application. You need to build that experience over time. And unfortunately, nobody wants to really take a lot of time to just slowly build it, because it is a grind and it is not really all that much fun. It's not flashy, exciting. But anyway, so back to the tools. I didn't get to use them very much. I kind of like to play with them, but growing up and learning, basically, if I needed the tractor to start, I needed it to start. I didn't have time to do a whole work with candles. I can't like leave a hayfield and be like, I'll be back, and then run off and set up an altar with bells and chimes and ask three gods if, maybe they could start that tractor out there. When you're in the field, the tractor's not starting, it's hot, everybody's sweaty and tired. You need that thing to just start, so A, you can finish your work and get out of the field, and B, hayfields are hot and people get frustrated, and next thing you know, they're arguing and tempers flare, and we're trying to avoid all of that, because if that flares up, then I have to put that fire out too. bad enough I gotta get this tractor to start. I don't have time for people arguing about why the tractor won't start. Tractor needs to start. I need to just make it happen. It's not something that I have time for tools in the traditional magical sense, like what you would think of as normal tools. I will admit there have been times when I have been out there and I have imagined what it would look like if I set up like this whole ritual and spell work with all these magical tools and this tractor to get it to start again, like some kind of tractor necromancer. And it is a funny image, and I enjoy that because sometimes you have to find a little humor in the situations. But again, that's probably my humor just being odd. So while I do have a few tools that are kind of locked away and they only come out once in a while on a rare occasion, I don't really consider them my tools. They're toys, essentially. They're things I play with. They're there to entertain me. I will fiddle around with them, see what they do and how they work with how I work. But they're not dependent on. I don't need them to do any of the things that I would do. Again, that's just the way I was brought up. But I did have a little bit of an epiphany in the last week. I realized that I do have some tools that I will use in certain situations that I don't really think of as tools. They're kind of like handy accessories. We're going to say handy accessories. I didn't really pick up on it, but some comments were made about various things. And then I got to kind of looking into it a little bit and I realized I do have tools. They aren't necessarily specifically magical, like you would associate some things with elements, earth, air. Mine tend to be situational tools. They are things that I work with and have worked with over decades. And over time, they seem to work really well in certain situations. And so I will use them in certain situations. And that sounds kind of strange. So let's just get an example out there. I have this old clipboard that I have no idea where I acquired the clipboard from. It was here one day, sometime when I was in high school. It was probably a used clipboard. We throw nothing out. So it was probably a clipboard that somebody was getting rid of and got dragged home because it's a perfectly good clipboard and we could use it. I'm hoping people still know what a clipboard is. They're probably not popular anymore, but I have a bunch of clipboards. I was in politics for a while. You have to get petitions signed. We have a number of clipboards around here because we used to carry them. We go around to get signatures. But this one particular clipboard, it's a letter-sized clipboard. It's probably dates from the 80s. Like it's old. It's got a little rust on it. There's a bizarre sticker in the bottom left-hand corner that who knows where that came from. But when I want to be kind of all business and not talk to anybody and I just want to get my stuff done, in certain situations, I will break out this clipboard. Used to be when I was campaigning, I would take the clipboard and slap the petition on it and away I would go. You have to get, I don't know how much people know about politics, but you have to get so many signatures to get on the ballot. And they have to be particular signatures. You have to do a walking list. You got to basically go around and knock on everybody's door and get these signatures. Well, you need a certain number. You've got to hit a certain number in so many days. We would go out after work at night and I'd have to knock on doors and get these signatures. But when you do that in a small town, people want to talk to you. And it's not that I don't want to talk to them. All right, I don't. But when you're running for office, you kind of have to talk to people. It's what you do. But I also have to keep going. You want to chat with them a little bit, be friendly, but you also got to get to the next house. This clipboard was my buddy for a long, long time. Every time we'd go out, I had this clipboard. It was kind of, I don't know, my favorite clipboard. And it has, I don't know what we want to call it, picked up the, I want to say aura, but that's not the right word. But basically, it's a no nonsense clipboard. It's a let's get it done. We have business to attend to and move along because there's more stuff coming kind of clipboard. And that's the clipboard. The clipboard, I left politics a long time ago and the clipboard has languished. It's in my workroom now. And I didn't actually really even think about it. But when I took a bunch of my desk stuff down there, the clipboard got transferred as well. It's Christmas time. It's busy. And through a strange series of events, which happens a lot, and I have a lot of strange series of events. But anyway, I find I have to keep ferrying people out so they can do their Christmas shopping. I keep going out. I get nothing done because managing these people keeps me kind of hopping. It gets later and later in the season. I'm not really gaining on my to-do list because I'm running around helping everybody with their to-do lists. Again, perfectly normal. Not really, no. We decide that I've got to get caught up. My husband and I pick a day. We're going to go shopping. I have 8 lists I'm running right now. So that's 8 sheets of paper I need to keep track of. There's more lists at home, but for shopping wise, we have to have 8 different lists. And somebody out there is saying, why 8? Trust me, I need all 8. I have learned that trying to mark things off, it's cold, the pens go through the lists, it ruins my lists, it marks up my other list, it just kind of creates annoyance that I don't really need. And so I marched it on down to the workroom and pulled out clipboard, and I didn't really think about it. It's my favorite clipboard. I'm just used to it. It comes to hand. I needed a clipboard, and there it was. So I slapped my lists on the clipboard, and the next day we go off. We're going shopping. I get in the stores this time of year. It is a pain because they will find you, people will talk to you, everybody wants to talk. Well, I have the clipboard, husband has the shopping cart, and I am on a mission. And I find that nobody is talking to me. It's super. Like, people are moving out of the way, and I'm just getting a ton of stuff done. I am happy as a lark. Bebopping through the store, getting stuff checked off my list, tossing it in the cart, moving along, running so very smoothly compared to the last like 9 shopping trips with all these other people. And as we're coming down a side lane, there is a large altercation going on. I was in a Walmart. If anybody has ever been in a Walmart, you know that you will see things in a Walmart that you just can never unsee them. And so we're not really in Walmart a whole lot, but we had to stop there for some things, and so I'm trying to make time because I want to get out of Walmart. And there is a huge altercation, and it's the holidays. People have meltdowns all the time. There's screaming, there's swearing, is pearl clutching going on. It is an entire scene, and it is right in the middle of one of the main ways that you get to the exit. Am I going to turn around and go back through this whole Walmart again? Oh, well, no, I am not. I just, me and my clipboard, I kept reviewing my list and I just marched right through the whole thing and everybody parted. And then my poor husband just like followed along with the cart. We got all checked out. I didn't think too much of it, but we got everything in the car. We went to the next place that we had to go. We stopped. I'm looking at the clipboard again on my next list to make sure I'm getting what I need to get. And he says to me, "Can we leave the clipboard of death in the car?" Which is when I realized that, yeah, when I want to make time and I am kind of in a no nonsense, thou shalt not mess with me kind of vibe, the clipboard and I get along really good. And the clipboard tends to enhance that flavor. Now, some of it's the visual thing, but also for many, many years, the clipboard and I have worked in that particular vein. And so the clipboard has acquired a certain "you're not going to bother me, get out of the way" kind of vibe, and it helps amplify that for me when I'm out and about. So they started making me leave the clipboard in the car. I've had to retire the clipboard for the season. It's just a clipboard. I never really thought about it, but apparently the family has a name for it, and they call it the clipboard of death or the COD. I'm kind of interested to see what else they have names for that I don't really realize. But yeah, I do tend to do that. I guess my tools are not necessarily the tools that I would associate with magic. I mean, I've never run into anybody else with a magical clipboard. And I don't really know that this clipboard is magical per se, but it is a magically enhanced object. So I guess that kind of makes it a magical object. I'm not waving a wand around, I'm just kind of marching through stores with clipboards. So that kind of will wrap up magical tools. And then, just like as a little side update, we all know that I like to make things live. It's kind of a hobby of mine. I have obtained a sourdough starter. It's supposed to be possibly one of the older strains in existence. So, it can't be proven all the way back, but rumor has it. I don't really care if it is or not. It was a particular strain of sourdough. It looks like it's going to be fantastic. It has arrived. It came a few days early, and we did the whole wake it up kind of thing with the flour and the water, and it's happily percolating away out on the counter. And I am deeply enjoying the chit chat with this sourdough. I've had sourdough starters before. Years ago, I had them, and they were, it was okay. I do like a sourdough bread, but over time, we had kids and farm, and things are dying and living, and one thing happened the other, and I ended up giving the sourdough away to another lady in town who is happily doing her sourdough thing, but decided I was going to get back into it, purchased this sourdough starter. So anyway, it's percolating out on the counter right now. It is very happy. I like the feel of this starter. When you're kind of commingling energies, it was zesty right off the bat, and it's kind of got a little pizzazz to it. It's feisty. I like that in the sourdough. So I think we're going to get along pretty well. I've got to name this sourdough. I have not named it yet. I will come up with something. It amuses me when people name their sourdoughs things like Jane Doe, or they'll pick like, I guess, basically puns and things. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, but I like my sourdoughs to pick their own name, much like the animals and everything else here. I prefer that they pick their own name. We will eventually establish what its name is, but I am not going to force it into a mold. I think names, maybe I should get into names at some point because I have a lot of opinions about names. I think names are very particular, and I'm not going to try to force the sourdough starter into a name. I'm going to let the sourdough starter bring about its own name. That is standard procedure here for anything that arrives. Just this fall, we had the horses arrive. They didn't have names. I think that people kind of would have immediately rushed to name their animals. It was like a week later, and we were like, all right, maybe now we need to kind of start thinking about what the name is. And it still took us probably 2 more weeks to really settle on a name. I'm going to be honest, while the colt has a name, we have a tentative name for the mare, and it's a name because you got to call her something, but I don't think it's going to stick. I think she's going to end up with a completely different name eventually. That is not unusual. Pretty much everything here has more than one name. I don't even know how many names at this point. That's standard procedure. It's like a tradition here. When we are, just start with the people, we are given a name at birth, but usually nobody uses that name. We are frequently called somebody else in the family's name, whoever we remind somebody of. So it is very normal for us to not have our actual name used. Even now, my mother forgets and will use some of the names. They were more in probably late teens, early 20s. So she has been known to yell one of those names. Not that we even use them anymore. I don't think anybody's called me any of those in years, but once in a while she kind of slips up and she'll yell one of those across the store. That's always fun. You have to know who they're talking to. Names are funny here, and maybe someday I'll get into like the whole naming convention, but I think that's going to be it for today. Christmas, I suppose, when this drops. So if you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. If you don't, that's okay too. I hope you're having a great holiday season and it hasn't been too absolutely insane for you. And I will talk to you next week.